Um, let's see, and I saw Rania just joined us. Welcome. Ellie, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Ellie Petoni, and I am the Brain Health Coordinator at Goodwin Living. Um, and I am a social worker by background.
Wonderful. And Michelle?
And I'm Michelle Wanzer. I'm the brain health assistant, and I keep the team organized and everybody.
She is our chaos coordinator. I would be lost without her. Welcome. Well, thanks everyone. So we are going to talk today about adapting the stronger memory exercises and groups. So the idea, if you haven't joined us yet, or if you haven't joined us in a few months, what we're doing this year is really the um, looking at each month, highlighting a topic that we can cover for this call, so that they're not just sharing, although we'll have plenty of time for that, but we're also, learning things through our grant work that we've been doing. We're learning things from all of you all the time. And so we want to cover some different topics each month. And this week, I thought we could talk about what we are doing, some tips to adapt. I apologize. I was having some trouble earlier with our SharePoint, but I have it ready now. So I am going to share my screen in a second here, and we'll get started. While I am starting this, sharing my screen, we also will share a link again in the notes, but we have created a new private Facebook group for facilitators. And that is really exciting. We are looking at using that as a place to put additional information, like these slides if it's helpful, but also different lesson plans that we've made, things like article reviews that we've been creating, and also a place where you all can share information and share things that you are doing. And with that, shout out. Also, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't. And Ellie is our fantastic Facebook manager, and she does a really great job with our social media. So follow us, share, tag us. We'll tag you and comment back. We really just want to amplify all of the great work that we are doing.
And that's as you said, Jessica, that's a shout out about the Facebook, and also not the Facebook, but Facebook. And that really came from you all, that idea.
Yes.
For having a place to share all together. So I'm hoping maybe Ellie can put those links for our Facebook facilitator page, and then our regular Stronger Memory facilitator page, and maybe our Instagram link in chat.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be really awesome. But thank you, because we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for your suggestion. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and that facilitator page really is something that came out of our discussion last month. So we're trying to move quick on things as we can. And we already have the group. I think some of you have already joined. We don't have a lot of posts yet, but going to be working on building that up. And the goal is really, it's a community where we can share stuff, but also where you all can share with each other. So let's dive in here. we are talking about how to adapt stronger memory, because really it's important that it works best for your group. Every setting is different. Every participant is going to be different. So we want to, I think one thing we've done well is making sure that you feel like you have the ability to adapt it to meet your specific needs. To facilitate stronger memory, you don't need to be an expert. You just have to be a great encourager. That's really what people are looking for. And success is engagement, consistency, and fun. We keep things fun. We keep people motivated. So one way, we'll talk about this just a little bit. You all are really the experts here, but I wanted to share some top tips on how to tailor stronger memory to specific settings. So if you are in a senior center or retirement home, make it social, have daily group sessions. I know some of our senior centers in Maryland had it as part of a daily routine. You come in and you get your stronger memory packet, and then you go from there. Libraries and community centers, this is something we're working on with Fairfax Libraries, is giving them the tools to people who come in for maybe other services. We've done this model a little bit in doctors' offices, but if you come in and you're interested in memory care resources or brain health resources for something else, give them a tool, let them access the workbook at their own pace. One-on-one with caregivers and families can be really personalized. And then a new area that somebody brought up to me a few weeks ago was in workplaces. Doing some brain breaks. I know our partners at Health Quality Innovators did this as part of their annual all-team meeting. They did just a few minutes all together of math, and use what's already in place. So add stronger memory into your existing routines. Kind of our base model here is that weekly meeting model. But you know your participants, your communities best. And so there's lots of different ways to tailor it to your specific setting. Next, some tips on how to adapt the exercises for individual needs. Flexibility is key. What we generally say is that someone can still participate in the program and see a benefit if they can find a way to do at least 2 to 3 exercises. So for reading aloud, things with individuals with low vision can use larger print books, audio books with repetition, or voice to text apps. Can just be a way to engage. It might not be exactly the same as stronger memory if it's an audiobook or voice to text app, but you're still engaging the brain with content and with that auditory, two senses, you know, the auditory and the bigger concept of what the material is. Speech challenges. Sometimes this might be advanced speech challenges, but also sometimes people say reading aloud, you know, their throat hurts after a while. So it could be silent reading followed by some discussion, adding in that social component, or taking turns with partner reading. And then attention difficulties. If it's hard to stay focused on a longer book or for a full 10 minutes, we have seen this with our memory care neighborhood at Goodwin Living. We have a team member who will have them read very short passages together, and then they'll talk about it, but it's shorter passages, or taking turns and having conversation. Next, writing by hand. So if there are challenges with writing by hand, if it's a dexterity issue or any kind of arthritis, you can try larger pens with adaptive grips, Kind of last resort is typing. We really think that what we've seen is having a conversation is better than typing. But if somebody really wants to get things down and they need to, you can type, but then if you're going to type what you write, read it aloud, share it with someone. Another adaptive tool I like are the weighted pens. You can get pens that have some weight to them. Those are really helpful if someone has tremors. And then if, sorry, there's a formatting issue on my slide here, I just noticed. But if you have pain or low writing stamina, you can write just a few words. You don't have to write a full sentence, but you can write just a few words. Sometimes motivation can be a struggle. So just remember, you can write about anything you like, a favorite memory, song lyrics, jokes. I think Teresa shared something yesterday about adding into our FAQs, you can write in different languages. So if English isn't your first language or not your only language, you can write in any language. It's really writing, just that act of handwriting is what is most important. Oh, Teresa, you're on mute, but you look like you want to add something there.
Yep, I just wanted to say that was a shout out to Rania, who is at the Fairfax at Little River Glen Senior Center, because they have a wonderfully diverse population. And so Rania said, yeah, letting them know, people had that question, do I have to write in English? Since the prompts were in English or in Spanish. And she let me know, like, no, you can write in whatever language you would like to write in, works great. So I think it's wonderful that people are that committed that they had the question, do I have to write in one of the two languages that the workbook's published in now? No, write in any language you want. And we also have another participant who is challenging themselves by trying to write in French and then read it back in French, and then they're reading it back in English. So what a fabulous brain workout they're getting.
Absolutely. One of my very first participants, when I was leading groups, did a similar thing. He was challenging himself to learn Irish. So he wrote in Irish and then, translated it back. Thanks, Teresa. And thanks, Rania, for that tip. Yes, that came from Little River Glen. And then the last exercise, the simple math, some ways to adapt the simple math. If there's math anxiety, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be really challenging. We don't want to correct if somebody gets the answers wrong. You can start with fun puzzles or really practical problems, counting. I have some math games that I want to try, things that are involve some math, but in a way that's really fun, not as stressful as maybe a worksheet might be. If somebody has vision challenges, you can use large print worksheets. You can use like large flashcards, tactile number cards, or even just verbal math. And for physical limitations, again, if writing is physically a challenge, you can solve the problems verbally, use a whiteboard or a PowerPoint slide, something that's really big, and say the answers aloud. Some tips for success: start simple. Remember that small wins build confidence. So even if someone is figuring out how to adapt the exercises, or if you're figuring out how to best adapt the group to your participant needs, start simple. Participation is better than perfection. So celebrating effort along the way, not accuracy, is really key. Make it fun. Laughter and energy are going to lead to better engagement. And then feedback fuels improvement. So ask your participants what they like, adjust, and then keep it fresh. One of the things we're going to upload to the Facebook group are some extra like article reviews that we've done. We've just put, Ellie made a nice format, and we've taken a brain health news article, put it in a nice Word document with some discussion questions. So if you have a group that's really more interested in coming weekly because they want to learn something new, use that, motivate them, find a short article, use one of the tools we're going to put up, keep it fresh. If you have a group that's really interested in meeting weekly and sticking with the program because they're connecting with each other, then maybe find different fun ways to celebrate. Highlight a person in the group if there's a topic that they really love. Let them share and present a little bit on that topic. I know Teresa has done a couple book clubs with her StrongerMemory group that meets virtually. Find ways to get input from your participants. And then a final thought on adapting StrongerMemory and getting individuals to really stick with these exercises. StrongerMemory works best when it fits naturally into people's lives. So how do we help them find their rhythm, find their routine with these exercises? I'll say even on the Goodwin Living side, we're always trying new ways and new things based on the residents and participants that we have. So it's okay to look at it kind of like an experiment and find what works best for you and for your group. I am going to stop sharing my screen now so we can have some discussion, talk about some best practices. And I will put this slide up just for a second so that you have our email, which I know you all have already, but just in case. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. So any thoughts on this? What other ways do you all oh, okay, I see some things in the chat too. May, you do memory conversations with clients who can't write. Tell me about that. What does that look like?
Yeah, so every month I've been doing my memory packets. They include writing samples from like Reader's Digest. They're small and short, which they really like. And there's the math problems, and I also do the writing prompts. And I want you to know that I also translate these into Spanish and Chinese for my folks who are not English speakers. And the writing prompts, I have a lot of people who, because of strokes, cannot use their dominant hand. I also have people who have such mind issues that are memory issues that they cannot even write anymore. So I do conversation starters with them, and it's so much fun. It's about saying the conversation starter, letting them start, and they're going to be like, okay, we're done. And then I start motivational interviewing and digging into it with them and getting them talking. And it's so much fun. Sometimes if there's time and an appointment, I get to see my people for once a month for an hour. If there's time and an appointment, sometimes I can get 2 or 3 of them done. And then I hand them off to the caregivers and say, okay, guys, this is what you need to do. Every day you need to do at least one with them. And I have adult family homes that request more of their conversation starters because they use them at dinner time. And they like to have at least one per day.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's really amazing. And I love the using motivational interviewing to keep them talking. That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Susan, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I had someone who came up with a really good idea, and I said, go for it. They wanted to memorize poetry. So their read aloud was poetry and their writing was copying the poem. I thought it was an original thought, but they felt like the two things were going to strengthen their ability to remember poem.
Yeah.
I said, go for it, you know. It's
That's
a little bit of a
great.
variation, but I think sometimes variations can be better for people because they're more motivated.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
So-
That's really key. It keeps them motivated because it's what they really want to do.
And another person who couldn't really write a lot was like doing bullet points, like just
Okay.
things that topic, and then they would write a word or 2 words, and so that was helpful too, to do it that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea.
Right.
Well, what else? Any other ways that you adapt?
Mine also like poetry. So I have one lady that only really likes poetry. So I work really hard on finding poetry from when they were young. I don't do the more modern poetry. And a really great resource, believe it or not, is William Bennett's The Book of Virtues. It has like some of the
Okay.
Aesop fables. It has like Livingston and Ogden Nash and whatnot. And some of my clients actually recognize those. And so they're very tickled when they see that who the authors are of the poetry. And I have one lady who bugs me all the time for more poetry. So
Ah,
I guess you could do the same thing with song lyrics too.
absolutely. Oh yeah, this month for Valentine's Day, I did When I'm 64 by the Beatles. Everybody's been
Oh, that's
crazy
a
about
great
it.
one. I love
Mhm.
that.
I love that too. We're doing we did My Girl the other day for early Valentine's, and we had people singing along to every verse, and we even found an old video of the Temptations, so young, doing one of the first renditions of My Girl, and they really got into it. So yeah, love the creative side of that, and just fun. That's something where Michelle and I are doing this week with all of our groups, just simply because it is Valentine's Day, sort of taking a break from the heavy duty, brain health function. We maybe had a couple of slides, since we do it virtually, about what happens to the brain when you're in love and things that researchers have found, but the majority of it really is just focusing on the light side of Valentine's Day and being very upbeat about that. And I think they enjoy that sometimes too, just kind of breaking it up a bit, because in the beginning, of course, you want to really set the standard that there's a commitment and we really want to be doing these 3 exercises, but over time I think it's fine to really make it fun, for a week at a time, and sort of give them a break. Hi, Mary. Yes.
Hi. Oh, I really appreciate this suggestion because here at Surrey, we've just put up a wall of excerpts from the writing workshop, and we frame them like art. And you've just given me this great idea. We're going to have the Stronger Memory group come out and use those as their inspiration for reading out loud.
Nice. I
I
love that.
love to do this cross programming where they can then appreciate more of what other groups are doing in the building. Who knows? Maybe they'll join the writing workshop. Our members are more, it sounds like more higher functioning perhaps than some of the people in these residential communities, because they're all living independently and we're a community center. So I really appreciate ideas for engaging them, because even though they know how useful it is for them, it does get tedious to do the same 10-minute things.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Love that, the wall of the writing excerpts. Just love that idea, even on a standalone, but we'd love it too for anyone. But I'm thinking, since you have the wall too, if you ever like to get a photo, and again, if permission's an issue, even photographing one of you, just looking at it and letting us know that you're using it now as Stronger Memory inspiration, that would be superb. But love that idea.
Thank you. I just so appreciate the idea. I mean, here it is right up on our wall. We just put it up last week. And if we hadn't been talking today, it wouldn't have occurred to me to use that as an inspiration for them.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Great.
Use the
Jessica,
things you're already doing.
right. Didn't we have someone, Jessica, and I can't think, it's been a couple of years, but they took an entire side of a wall, probably 6 feet across the
Yes.
length of the wall, maybe only up to about 5 feet, but they put large math problems. Some were vertical, some were horizontal, and it sort of became like a hangout area. And people would just challenge themselves by maybe only doing one or two, or there were some people that came early and tried to go through the whole thing before they walked the rest of the way into the senior center.
Yes, I believe that was somewhere Rob visited. I think maybe somewhere he introduced StrongerMemory before. But I'll get the name. We can
Yeah.
share a picture of that. That was really, really fun. What else? Any other adaptations?
I wanted to ask a question.
Yes.
To those of you who work in skilled nursing facilities, do you all, with folks that come to eat meals, have you ever considered doing like the memory conversations by having little table tents with maybe a index card on them to encourage the seniors while they're sitting at the table together to talk about those memories and see if they can motivational interview each other a little bit more and dig deeper into it. I don't know if that's something you all could do, but I just thought maybe that might be a really fun thing to do.
Love it.
Yeah, that's not something we have done, but I just wrote it down and
Yeah.
I see Ellie smiling too. I'm like,
I
that's
love that
something
idea.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I think we could definitely do that. I'm imagining too, we should yeah, some great little table tents with the question on them. That's a great idea. So it's in large print, easy to see.
Right.
That's really fun.
And it becomes that conversation starter too, and that
Which is the
icebreaker.
best thing,
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm wondering, Rania, would you mind sharing about your mini celebration and
Yes, I was
how
gonna
you
ask
did
that.
that at the end of your 12-week sessions?
Yeah, I can share that. So we're kind of new to the Stronger Memory world. I'm part of Fairfax County government, so we're at the senior centers. So as Mary mentioned, a little bit more of that higher functioning. So we've been trying to find some kind of adaptations to kind of fit the needs for our seniors. But we have 14 senior centers, and we just started piling it with 2 centers. And so the 2 centers, we kind of came together and had a little celebration. We had some brain healthy foods. I am at home today, so I can't share. I had made little containers, but I made a little nut station with cashews, sliced almonds, because I know those can be a little too hard sometimes. Some peanuts, some walnuts, sort of like crushed walnuts and things like that. And then got a little container, and it says a nut for brain health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you did tell me too, you checked there, you were very fortunate. No one had a nut allergy in your whole
yes,
Right.
center, so
we don't seem to have that nut issue. So knock on wood, it stays like that, because that makes my life a lot easier. But they were all on different things, and that way they could try some different nuts maybe that they may not have tried before, and kind of had that opportunity to kind of fill it up. And then it was kind of their little take home, and it was like, hey, this is a good thing to have in your purse, or in your bag that you're walking around with. So it's a good source of protein. It could be good for your brain as well.
love it.
Yeah, that's great.
And I love the banner behind. I know you had a group photo.
Yes, we had a graduation as kind of how we framed it. So
yeah.
but we do have a lot of folks that want to keep going. So we've been trying to determine how to kind of get that moving forward. So we appreciate all the different things. And as you guys mentioned earlier, we encourage them to read in their language, for them to write in their language. And we just try to, since they are higher functioning, so there's not as many deficits and things like that. Sometimes we're really, and it's been really successful, is just using the daily writings as kind of like a journal, or like a way for them to process their feelings. And we've gotten a lot of people that have felt, been very excited about that. And you guys were talking about some of the readings. We've had some great successes with some short stories, like Cinderella, different things like that. So our case manager has been really able to kind of pull some of those, and some of them have really enjoyed that because they're like, I can get a nice full story and just be done with it instead of continuing. And my assistant director also mentioned that Chicken Soup for the Soul. I didn't realize those were a lot of short stories. So an opportunity for people to kind of go to the library and potentially read through those as well.
Well, they're good ideas. I'm writing those down.
Yeah. And Rania, I know your counterpart too, and we may have mentioned this last time, but sometimes you're able, depending on your setting, to show a video. And I know one of the Fairfax County Senior Centers, which I think they were showing a video about the brain and particularly the prefrontal cortex and why we're trying to exercise that area. And they had a lot of people that English was not their first language, many Spanish speaking people. And I knew this, but I didn't put two and two together, that when you're showing most YouTube videos, you can go into the settings and have the captions in a different language going across the bottom of the screen. And when they did that, they had more people who really had been coming and doing the work, but rather silent, suddenly become very engaged because they were reading what was going on in their language, and it made all the difference. And it was sort of an aha moment for me, because Michelle and I do mostly virtual on our end. And so we're always showing videos, short videos from YouTube, which is wonderful because you can even filter things for, a 4-minute or less video, and that saves you time in picking out the right one. But then being able to put the captioning in another language can be so wonderfully inclusive for people in your group.
As Rachel mentioned, we have two different places that we're doing piloting it. The other place they had primarily Spanish speakers. The two people that were helping facilitate it, one was a Spanish speaker, the other one was not. So they were using a lot of YouTube videos, and they were structuring a little bit more like an hour. We were kind of doing a little bit more like a half an hour, so ours is a little bit more discussion. And our folks, that seems to work well for our folks, so we kind of offer it twice a week. So I think it's definitely, what's great is you can really tailor it to the group, and as you mentioned earlier, it's just trying to keep them motivated and trying to engage them.
If I can just add something real quick, for the YouTube videos. So on the settings, yes, there's the captions, but there's also a place where you can slow the video down just a little bit, just in case the video is going a little too fast for some residents or participants. I found success with that also.
Thank you, Ellie. Yes, that's been super helpful.
That's a great tip. Yeah.
Okay, I want to mention that since my first class, I've included a 3 to 5 minute guided imagery session in it, and people really seem to respond to that. And there's this other technique that I learned someplace else where I asked them one week to bring a straw, and you hold the straw in your mouth, and you support it, so it's just not like dangling down or anything, and you breathe in through your nose and out through the straw. And what happens with that is you naturally extend your exhalations, which is very, very relaxing. It can also be used in bed if you wake up at night, the same thing with the straw. I got it from a different place. I think it was Feldenkrais or something like that, but it's been very helpful, and people find that they can get back to sleep, or they can fall asleep. So I think that kind of relaxation and breathing and guided imagery can also be a good addition to the program.
Love it.
Absolutely. That's great. Since we did talk about languages, one thing that we are aware of is that right now we don't have StrongerMemory available. We have the workbook available in English and Spanish, and that's it. And we have the Facilitator's Guide only available right now in English. We are really interested in translating it into other languages and translating the facilitator's guide. We are updating the facilitator's guide right now with all new revamped lessons based on a lot of your feedback. But what we've found so far with us being a small nonprofit, going to one of the bigger translation organizations is expensive and not something that we currently have the funding to do. But I just put that out there because we're working on a few things through some local connections we're able to make. You know, if you know someone that does translation that would be interested in being hired as a contractor, you know, we're trying to do that. Doing the translation through obviously people who are qualified, but people who we can pay the individual versus a big corporate company that is currently out of our budget unless we get some grant funding. We are always interested in talking with those individuals to see how we can make that work, because we would like to have it available in more languages.
Will you send us additions to the facilitators manual?
Yes, right now, what we're currently doing, we are it's still in the internal review page, and Ellie is piloting the lessons in her in-person Stronger Memory groups. We might send out some of those, start sending some of those out in the next month or two to a few facilitators as like, hey, do you want to try this out and give us your feedback? And then once the full guide is finished, we'll send it out to this group that gets the invites for the facilitators huddle for you all to provide any additional feedback before it goes up on our website officially. Yes. And the main feedback we got, the main thing we're doing with those new lessons, and Teresa and Ellie, feel free to jump in. But some of what we're doing, you know, when we made that first draft of the facilitators guide, we didn't have this big community of facilitators. So the lesson plans in there are pretty short, and we've learned over the years, okay, maybe we don't need 3 lessons on motivation. We need 1 more in-depth lesson on goal setting and motivation. And people really want to learn. So let's make some of the lessons a little bit longer. Let's change up some of the discussion questions so they're a little deeper. And then we've learned along the way too, what are the frequently asked questions that people get confused about? How can we incorporate that into those lesson plans so that we can really set people up for success from the very beginning? So if you have any other suggestions or feedback, though, let us know.
Bring them.
Any other questions for this month's call? Anything you're doing that's really cool that you want to share, or any challenges you're having that you want to brainstorm with the full group?
Could I ask, how do people kind of sell it? I guess, to kind of get that initial buy-in, because I'm trying to put it on a flyer, but I feel like I can't get it all on a flyer, like specifically. And then they kind of start and they're kind of interested, and then they're like, no, this is just more work that I want to put into it. Is there like any like success, or I don't know, that people feel like they're having? Or is everybody kind of in the same bus that they're kind of getting a lot and then it kind of falls away?
Well, I mean, I bring out the packets to my folks and my new clients. I explain Stronger Memory to them. I'm right now, unfortunately, you know, December, January, and February are very hard months. I've lost 10 clients. the last few months. So now I'm adding more people in. And so when I have brand new clients, I take the packets with me. I explain them the Stronger Memory program. And you all really gave me some great fuel the last meeting when you said about the regeneration of the prefrontal cortex brain cells. Come to find out is that, yes, while those brain cells do regenerate, unless we do the memory work, unless we do the brain health work, those synapses are not going to connect. They are not going to assist the growth of and the sustaining of our memories. And I tell them that, and I said, and this is what I bring out, and every month, and I always leave one behind. And it's funny because even the most skeptical ones want to look at it and see what's there, and they recognize something that that maybe was from their childhood or whatever. And sometimes I get those that scoff at it, and it takes them a couple months, but I always hand it to them, regardless. When I go in and see them, I always hand it to them, even if they set it down. And a couple months later, within a couple months, they're doing it and bugging me, where is the packet? If I am late and I forget the packet, or don't you set me up too early in the month that you don't have the packet ready,
That's
So I've learned
great.
now that my my first week of the month admin day has to be before I start going out and seeing clients. So
Oh my
I have
gosh, 'cause they
packets
want
made.
that packet.
Yeah, and my packets aren't little either. They're like 20 pages. So
Quite the hot commodity.
they are.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
They're a lot of fun. I also put like a word search in there or a couple coloring pages, and it just breaks up the sections, like, so I'll put the writing or the reading section in, and then I'll put in a word search, and I'll start the math section, then I'll put in a coloring page, and after the writing prompts, I put in a coloring page, and everybody that's just the deal. It's a matter of just the more you believe in it, the more they will believe in it.
And we just have a vast amount of people, so we kind of have some scoffing at it. So I might have to start bringing out the packet maybe more, and that way they can kind of see it a little bit more and get a little bit more in that way. So, so thank you for the input. You also mentioned you were translating them into Spanish and
In
Chinese. Do you use just Google, or do you have another?
I use Word. So when I do my own the reading samples, what I do is I put them in Word, and I put them landscape and 2 columns, and I increase the letter size to almost like a 16. And I found Apto 16 is really good for this. And then what I do is that with my English packet, I print out all my English ones, With the memory starter ones, though, I have to type those. So, or the memory conversation writing prompts. I type those into individual sheets. And then in Word, what I can do is I just go to translate, and it'll translate, Control All, and then it translate it. But what else I do, which I find is easier to do so I don't mess up my English copy, is I Control All it, put it in a separate document, and then translate it. And then I have my Spanish, and then I have my Chinese. And that way I don't mess up my English.
And they've been pretty happy there.
They love it.
Perfect.
Wow.
That's
Great tip.
really amazing, May, because I never thought to do that. I didn't know Word could do that, number one, and now I feel silly. But also, yeah, if they're happy with that, maybe there's a way we can put a big disclaimer on our broadly available stuff that, hey, this is not, we don't want to offend anybody if it's not quite correct. But if if your participants have really been happy with that, then that's better than what we have now while we work to get more detailed
What I really
translation.
think it is, Jessica, I think it's clear that I've put forth the effort. And even if there's things lost in translation or things that are wrong, sometimes I catch it and I think it's funny, or they'll say something to me, but they're so afraid of saying something that I may not do it again for them. And so it's more a matter of gratitude than it is of criticism.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I wanted to just mention, Rania, I'm also like a county coordinator over 15 senior centers. I'm not nearly as hands-on as May is. That's amazing. So we do ours more as like a 10-week workshop. It's very self-managed. We don't provide anything more than the workbook for them. But I'm liking a lot of these ideas. But as far as marketing and retention goes. I do have a post class. So if you can get one group and afterwards I have a post survey I have them fill out, and part of it is what was your experience? And then I get their permission. Can I use this information? And it's just kind of like, once you get 4 or 5 comments of this and people that they know saying, I had a good experience, most of the time, my participants, I find, enjoy, well, they'll do the exercises because that's part of the program, but they keep coming and they find the biggest value in the conversations, in the social engagement part. And so that's kind of what I use as, that is brain health. That's an important part of it. And then as I can have those comments afterwards, because I don't, our centers don't like keep it going always. I'm doing 10 weeks and then I'm going to a new center and doing it for 10 weeks. And so we kind of rotate around. And then because it's on a limited basis, there's kind of that supply and demand where they're like, oh, I know it's not going to be here all the time. When
Right.
it does come around, they're very, and we keep it limited because I found that having too big of a group, you're getting maybe 3 or 4 people who do all the talking. So we limit it to no more than 20 people can participate in a workshop at one time. And that seems to keep the demand there, keep it intimate to where the conversation and to where people do have a more positive experience in it. But that's just, again, how we've adapted the program to cover a large community.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense. And I know Ellie started, I don't know if you want to share anything, Ellie, about your closed groups, but just to kind of second what Annie said, we've, I think, seen a lot of people now that we used to just have an open ongoing group, and Ellie said, you know what, we really want people to commit to the full intent of doing the exercises. So she did a 10-week closed group, and it was like suddenly, now that not everybody is just guaranteed to get into it, it's the hot thing on campus is Ellie's Stronger Memory Group. So I think there is that supply and demand. So I don't know if you have anything to add, Ellie, but yeah.
No, I mean we've had a lot of struggle getting people to buy into it and get that interest. Well, people were interested, but what I was finding was a lot of people were thinking it was more of a quick fix. So we've really been about changing that message and really encouraging, and I always equate it to, trying to get healthy or losing weight, something like that. And, it's something you have to continuously work at in order to get that goal. And so it's all about progress and not, necessarily just getting something done right away. But the closed groups have definitely helped create a little bit more of an interest. Yeah. But I wanted to make sure Matthew got a chance to say something. I think I saw your hand up twice.
Oh, sorry, Matthew. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I was just gonna bring up that and someone else already brought it up about like selling Stronger Memory to skeptical prospective participants. That was kind of like what the first half of last month's facilitator session was all about. Like how to tell stories, how to like identify them, whether they are like observing participants and how they improve over time, or feedback from their caregivers when you speak to them when they first arrive or afterwards, or their family members, and also like milestones that they reach, especially if you just follow through like the packets, because especially like the math portion, it's dramatically different. Like if you give them the initial math questions versus, the ones that are 20 or 30 pages later.
Right.
That, and then also like Stronger Memory being like a science and evidence-based program, there's like a lot of research showing that it works. So
Yeah.
those are my two methods.
Yeah. Always referring back to the research and just kind of helping to educate and reminding people why we're doing this and that it isn't something that's, Rob Liebig just made up one day.
Right.
I always love, like, when I introduce the groups, I'm like, we'll have a lesson where we'll go over each
Right.
exercise, but I promise you, he didn't just snap his hand and just pick these 3 ones. But yeah.
Right. I think that's especially hard sometimes at Goodwin Living because our residents know Rob and our staff knows Rob, and so sometimes it's like, oh wait, that guy made this. What is where'd he pull this from? So yeah, going back to that research can be really helpful. May, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, one of the other things, selling points I do with my packet is I always bring it back to Goodwin. And how I do that is when you guys send out the monthly emails or the bi-monthly emails or weekly, I don't remember. What I do is I go through them, I see which ones talks about the 3 sections, right? I print it, I put it on the front page of my packet. It always takes it back. Okay, this is science-based, this is evidence-based, this is what we see. That way, not only that, but I want them to know and recognize stronger memory. I want them to recognize Goodwin Living, because this isn't a full life thing. This is you guys' thing. I'm just utilizing it, to help them. And I really appreciate it. It has changed so many lives ever since the day I sat on that webinar with Torsten Horsch, who is our CEO, and Rob. It was amazing. It was like life-changing for me. Now it's like I'm all about, I'm in a geriatric dementia workshop as well, and learning so much right now. And I said, well, the dementia class when it goes on to March, and I reached out to my boss and said, can I take the next session all the way to June? And she's like, of course you can.
Yay.
So thank you. You guys have started something great for me. So I just want to say thank you.
I love that. Thank you. We're so happy to hear that. Annie, yes.
Yeah, Matthew just brought up a thing I was going to ask. Where are we at evidence-based? Where are you guys on that process? Any
Yes, that is a
updates?
great question. So we have we do have a article, George Mason University. I can't remember if we shared last month or not. They did publish a article in a peer-reviewed journal, and they are working on a second one getting published in a peer-reviewed journal. If you would like access to the article, we are not allowed, because it's in a paid journal, we're not allowed to send out the full, we can't disseminate the full article or post it on anyone's website. If individual participants would like access, we do have a copy that, just you can view. But we ask that you don't put that on your website or anything like that. Or like do mass printouts of it. But we do have that. And then the Administration for Community Living has updated their, they're currently in the process of accepting new programs to become certified as an evidence-based program under their guidelines. When you talk to most other grant organizations, that's the criteria that they're looking for. And we have our letter of intent in. So that was due at the end of January. We submitted our letter of intent. And then we're working, the first phase of the application is really heavy on the evidence, the scientific evidence behind the exercises. And so a lot of that, they are asking for specific things from the primary researchers who have done the studies. And so our partners, Dr. Kathy Tompkins and Dr. Emily Ahara from George Mason University are looking into that. They're working on that application, which is due, that stage 1 of the application, which is due at the end of this month. we'll submit that application, and then the ACL lets us know if they think we have enough evidence to apply for the second part, the second stage, if they have questions, or if there are additional things that we need in order to qualify. And what is really great about the process, the kind of decision-making board that determines this, they have no ties to funding. It's not like a competitive grant process. They really they're really motivated to get as many programs as possible that qualify certified as evidence-based. So if we don't currently meet the criteria, we're very confident that they'll tell us what else we might need to do to get there. If we make it through this stage 1 application, I'm very confident that when we get to stage 2, we will we'll rock that part, because stage 2 is really asking about implementation and training, and the requirements are pretty the requirements kind of surprised me. It's can people get trained in your program within 6 months? And I think when somebody's interested, we train them to be a facilitator a lot faster than 6 months. And it's asking about, do you have a support network for people who have questions? I think really this facilitator group is a key part of that, and our updated facilitators guide too will really be a great resource. So that, I think, if we get invited to phase 2, is that due in April, Teresa? I don't have that date in front
I
of me.
can't remember. I know February 28th, and they moved things back. I think it is April. I think it's an incredibly
so.
quick turnaround from us turning
Yes.
in this first
Or
part.
maybe they let us know in April if we're invited
yeah.
to apply to the second part.
Yeah, I think that's what it
we'll
is.
definitely keep you all posted.
Yep.
Where that conversation goes. Fingers are crossed. We're really hopeful. I think it just depends on how much of a stickler they're going to be on the controlled trial element. But we'll see. We've got a few options in there. We've got a few smaller studies that George Mason has done that did have more of a control group. But obviously the big study did not have a major control group. So we'll see what they say, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
And we'll provide you all updates. Thanks for asking. Yes. Any other questions or comments? I know we're a few minutes over, but this has been such a great discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking next month's topic, this has come up in a few places recently, but I'm thinking next month's topic will be on assessments. If you want to do any kind of assessment or self-assessment as part of your stronger memory groups, what that can look like, and what some people have done in the past. So if there's any other burning questions or topics that you have, let me know. Otherwise, that will be our topic for next month.